Let's consider f of x is 6x squared minus 8x, and let's try to find the limit when delta x goes to 0 of f of x plus delta x minus f of x over delta x. Let's do this in two steps. Step number one, let's find f of x plus delta x. What's that mean? We'll replace x here with x plus delta x and x here with x plus delta x. So we get 6 times x plus delta x squared minus 8 times x plus delta x. Where we got that from? By replacing x here with x plus delta x and x here with x plus delta x. Next step, let's FOIL x plus delta x. X plus delta x squared is x plus delta x times x plus delta x. Okay, let's FOIL it. X times x squared, x times delta x delta x times x, which is the same as x delta x, so you get x delta x. And delta x times delta x will give you delta x squared. And then we can distribute the negative 8 here. Negative 8 times x, negative 8x. Negative x times positive delta x will give you negative 8 delta x. But look at here, we can combine those two. X delta x plus x delta x will give you 2x delta x. So you get x squared plus 2 delta x plus delta x squared. Now let's distribute the 6 to all those terms. 6 times x squared, 6x squared. 6 times 2x delta x, 12x delta x. 6 times delta x squared will give you 6 delta x squared. So that will give you f of x plus delta x. Step 2. Let's rewrite the whole thing now. F of x plus delta x minus f of x over delta x is nothing else than replacing this f of x plus delta x by its value that we just calculate here. Put a negative sign, and after the negative sign, write f of x. What is f of x? Is 6x squared minus 8x. So, what did we get? Replace f of x plus delta x by this value that we just calculated. Put a negative sign, and replace f of x by this value here. So, let's put all that together. Let's put f of x plus delta x in parentheses. 6x squared plus 12x delta x plus 6 delta x squared minus 8x minus 8 delta x. This is the one that we just calculate. And then what we do next, put a negative sign, which is right here. And then what we do next, replace f of x by its value, which is 6x squared minus 8x. Next step, let's distribute this negative sign to 6x squared minus 8x. So we get 6x squared plus 12x delta x plus 6 delta x squared minus 8 delta x minus 8x minus 8 delta x. Negative here will convert this 6x squared to negative 6x squared. And this negative here will change this negative 8x to a positive 8x. Now let's combine like term. Negative 8x squared and positive 8x squared will cancel out. Negative 8x and positive 8x will cancel out. So we get 12x delta x plus 6 delta x squared minus 8 delta x over delta x. Now let's rewrite this by dividing all the term by delta x. So we get delta x 12x delta x divided by delta x, 6 delta x squared divided by delta x, and 8 delta x divided by delta x. What will happen here, the delta x will cancel out here. Here, delta x squared divided by delta x will give you delta x. And here, the delta x will cancel out. So it will remain 12x plus 6 delta x minus 8. And then what we do next is to take the limit when delta x goes to 0. So the limit of f of x plus delta x minus f of x over delta x when delta x goes to 0 is the same as the limit when delta x goes to 0 of our result, which is 12x plus 6 delta x minus 8. So if we take the limit when delta x goes to 0 of 12x plus 6 delta x minus 8, it just means replace this delta x by 0, because we say delta x is going to be very close to 0. So we can replace delta x with 0 here. So we get 12x plus 6 times 0 minus 8. And 6 times 0 is 0. That will yield our result, which is 12x minus 8. And this is the final answer. Hopefully that this was helpful. And I thank you all. And I see you in class. Thank you very much.